everybody, and welcome back to another episode of What's the Word Eagle Alumni Spotlights. I'm your host, Abby, and today we have a very special guest for you. Today we're joined with Stefan Rocha. And Stefan, why don't you give us a little bit of background about yourself?
Hello, thank you for having me on this podcast. As Abigail said, my name is Stefan Rocha. I am a current first officer on the Boeing 757-767 with Delta Airlines. I'm also an Embry-Riddle alumni. I graduated in May of 2011 from the Prescott campus. From there, I went to Grand Canyon Airlines, did some flying there. Then I went to ExpressJet for the Embraer 145 and been at Delta for just over 6 years. Very happy to be here and excited to share some of the experiences I've had.
Awesome. And now, from your time at Embry-Riddle, do you have a favorite memory that you'd like to share?
So that was one that I really got stuck on just because there's so many great memories that I had at Embry-Riddle and things like that. But I would say some of my favorite moments were the very beginning of my college time when I met some really great friends. We went hiking all the time. In fact, actually, once a month, we actually made a promise to do an excursion. We went hiking over to Mount Humphreys. We went camping and all this. And these are friends that I still talk to today, actually. There's one that lives about 40 minutes south of me here. But as far as my favorite event, I would say it's just something that me and my friends did every fall is to get back to school. We always went to a get back to school camping trip. And it's just how we kind of like kicked off this school year, just went out in the middle of the forest, had a nice big fire, and just hung out and just talked and cut up for the whole summer and whatnot. So if that was one favorite event, it was.
Oh, wow, that sounds like so much fun. And it's even better that you're still in touch with some of those special people from your time at Embry-Riddle.
Yeah, actually, I would say I'm in touch with quite a lot of them, actually, especially my fraternity brothers that I had there. I was a Sigma Chi in college, and I'm friends with a lot of them actually still. I see them constantly, so it's really good.
Awesome, awesome. And now, switching to being a pilot at Delta, what is your favorite part about being a pilot?
That is also a very loaded question. My favorite part, I would say, it has to be that no day is the same. Whether even if you fly into the same city, no day is the same. You fly with different people, different experiences, different weather patterns. Even keeps the job very fresh. And again, it could be your 100th landing or your first landing at that airport. It's still a very fresh job. I don't feel like I'm ever working. I feel like I'm sometimes on vacation. But my favorite thing is that no day is the same, honestly.
Right, right. So it kind of keeps you on your toes a little bit. Never monotonous.
Absolutely. It's never monotonous. Now, yes, I have been asked, what do you do during cruise? Because it must be boring. Yeah, it is boring, but let me put it in this perspective. Boring is good. It means nothing wrong is happening. So I'm glad when it's boring. It means that the job is quote unquote easy. It's not easy to get there. It's not easy to do, but it's easy, quote unquote, if you guys know what I mean. So boring is good. But having that a different challenge every day or a different destination or a different crew member, that's what makes the job fresh to me. And I really do enjoy it.
Right, right. Oh, okay. And now I know you said it's different. It's the same, but it's different. So what does a typical day kind of look like?
Yeah, so I live in Denver and I'm based out of New York. I do mainly international flights. In fact, this Wednesday I'm going to Venice for the first time. I'm super pumped for that. But a typical day for me, like let's just run through what I'll be doing on Wednesday. I'll be hopping on a flight from Denver to New York on Wednesday. Get to New York about 4 hours prior to showtime, which is when we have to report to work. So I'll just hang out there. I'll take a nap or have some lunch. I'll do whatever. Update my iPad with all the new manuals, updates, or software upgrades and things like that. Once that's done, then I meet up with the crew. We usually meet up with them in the pilot lounge, talk about the flight plan, talk about the procedures, who's going to be flying it, talk about any sort of contingencies that we might have, or anything of concern, or anything to note. And then we go to the airplane, get it set up, fly overnight to Venice, land there, and then take a quick nap, go out, have a good time. It's my first time. I'm probably gonna walk around the whole entire city, get some really good food because I love food. It's why I probably can't lose weight because I just love food so much. And then go back to the hotel, get a good sleep because they're still very responsible people. And then we fly back the next day. A typical trip right there is what I do. Once you get into a routine, it's pretty straightforward. But yeah, I just get up, commute, go to work, and come back. It's pretty nice.
Awesome. And now, do you have a favorite place that you've flown to before?
I get this question all the time, and my answer is always the same. There's so many different cities that I've been to that you see the similarities between them, but you also see the differences between them. That makes it super hard to just have one favorite. But some of my top five, I would say Quebec, Canada is a gorgeous city. I remember being there one time right around Christmas time, and it was snowing very hard, very big flakes. And the city was still pretty active. Like people were out walking, the Christmas lights were up, and it just felt like I was walking through a Christmas card or like one of those like globes that you see at the gift shops. It just feels like you're walking through one of those. As far as like approaches, Portland, Maine has a really good approach to land at the airport. I think it's one of my favorite ones. When I flew over at the Grand Canyon, that was always fun because you always got to see some views that you don't ever get to see, even from 30,000 feet up. You don't get to see what you saw when you're just at 1,000 feet above the canyon. As far as lately, going to Europe, I just went to Prague 2 weeks ago, and that was a beautiful city. Very walkable, really good scenery, really good history as well. And I can be a little bit of a history nerd, so I really enjoy looking around and exploring. But right now, I would say Quebec City for is just magical, sort of like picturesque feeling. Portland, Maine for the approaches. Prague just for the historical thing. But I also really like Dublin. It's a lot of music in Dublin, and no matter where you go, which pub, which restaurant, which anything, there's always live music, and I really enjoy that as well. So again, loaded question, but and Rio. I went to Rio in January. Really good spot to just go there and hang out.
Oh, that's awesome. And I'm sure once you go to a certain city more than once, you kind of figure out where you like to go.
Yeah, actually, I did a lot of Honolulu about a year or so ago, and I had a list of like 20 different spots to hit up in Honolulu. And you just ask friends, you ask people you fly with and all this stuff. And I just every single overnight, I just checked a few off the list. And it was just like even though I was there 20, 25 times, I still did something different every time. Yeah, there are some things that I did the same. Like I always went to go get it's called a Cocoa Puff bakery item from this Liliha bakery in Honolulu. I always did that because it was just it was really good and it was right next to the hotel as well. But then I did something else. It was just everything had its own different adventure despite it being the 20th time there.
Awesome. Awesome. That sounds very fun, very exciting.
Thank you. Yeah, it really is. It's a really exciting job. Again, I don't feel like I'm working at all.
And that's the best kind of job right there, where you don't feel like you're at work.
Exactly. I would agree with you 100%.
And now, my next question for you, are you able to tie writing into your day-to-day work life?
Yeah, actually, I we do. Mainly, we do it with ACARS, which is the way that we communicate between flight control and the airplane. We just type it in via a computer, and we send out a text message, just like we do with our phones to our friends. So yeah, that's the main way we tie writing into that.
Okay, perfect. And do you ever have to write any kinds of reports or anything like that, or is it mainly just that text message type writing?
The text message is the primary common way that we communicate in a day-to-day basis. We do reports like when we have, let's say, an incident with that could be a go around or a diversion, we had to take off, or we had to write a maintenance report because something broke on the airplane. We do write those sorts of reports. Almost certain number of students are familiar with an ASAP report. We do those not too often, but we do those. I do about one every 3 or 4 months or so, just to bring up some safety issues that I see, and that's just that's what they are there for. But that's where writing does come very, very essential there.
Right, right. And then, so for our viewers who maybe aren't pilots, what is an ASAP report?
I'm going to butcher the acronym because I always butcher acronyms, but I believe it's Aviation Safety Action Program. It's when you see or when something happens to you that you could have fixed. For example, like we have a procedure, we need to put the flaps to the takeoff position before we start taxiing out for takeoff. If we forget to do that and we do it later, it could be a potential safety issue if we do not realize it before we take off. Flaps are it's just a mechanical device that we use for better lift to take off. But let's say I forgot to do that, I need to write a report about it because everything on the airplane is tracked. And I write a report. This is what happened. This is what I could have done better. And this is what I learned from it. And that report then goes into the database and it's compiled with a bunch of different reports. And they look at the trends, look at the data. And with that, they see where pilots need to be a little bit more refreshed in their training. In fact, Every 9 months, we go into the simulator to just refresh the skills that we do not use every day, which are good. Like we go in there and refresh skills that are like engine failures, engine fires, cargo fires, medical emergencies, which I'm glad they don't happen every day. But if you don't practice them, you're going to be rusty. So we go in there every 9 months and practice all those. And then we have special emphasis items, and those are compiled from the ASAP reports that we write and everything. It's also a way to self-disclose that you did this and that you know what you did wrong and you know what you are going to fix later on. And that in a way protects me as well from any action. Or also if you see something that needs to be a little bit better changed, like you're coming into an airport and the crossing restriction, like cross this point at this speed and altitude, is always so challenging. You almost can't make it every time. You bring it up to the eyes of the company and the FAA via the ASAP report. They're like, maybe we should change that. And that's, even though you did nothing wrong, you could still do that to like, hey, this is what it's been challenging. I don't know if it's a lot of planes have been reporting this, but maybe you should change that, So it's a really good report. It's a safety report to better enhance the safety on the industry and of every single flight out there.
Right. Awesome. And I'm sure those are very important to write with a lot of detail in them, being very specific.
Not just the detail, it's also how you write. You have to be very eloquent you want to be clear. Pilots, unfortunately, we're not the best, strongest writers, is what I've noticed. However, though, when we do get to report writing, I do believe we all take extra time because we want to make sure what we want to portray. So it's very important to be direct, very important to use the proper language, very important to be concise and clear with what you're writing as well. Because it's not just going to go into a pile, it's actually going to go and affect different aspects of the industry.
Right. Perfect. All right. And then, so have you noticed any differences or similarities between writing you did at Embry-Riddle and writing you're doing in the workplace?
Actually, Embry-Riddle did prepare me pretty well for the writing that we do in the workplace. The thing I really like about Riddle's training, if you will, is how they literally used the industry's tools. Like I learned how to do an ASAP report during my flight safety course at Riddle. I learned how to use the ACARS, which is the text messaging thing that we have on the airplane, during my flight management system course at Riddle. I think the courses at Riddle were very good for us to get you prepared for the industry itself. Now, if you wanted me to be a writer, I don't think so. But that's not Embry-Riddle's purpose, But as far as getting me set up for the industry and what I did back at Riddle to what I'm doing now, it's very good and very strong.
Perfect. Awesome. Oh, I'm glad to hear that. And then, so my final question that I have for you today, do you have any advice that you'd like to share with our current Eagles?
It's more of a general piece of advice. It's always good to look to the future, always good to have that end goal in sight, but do not be afraid for that goal to change, whether it was your doing or some other circumstance made you change it. But most importantly, do not forget to enjoy where you're at right now. I see a lot of people get caught up with if only I could do this, if only I will be this, if only I get this job here, and they kind of forget to live their present. So don't forget to live the present. Focus on the future, of course, and don't be afraid to change your goals, because maybe you find a different interest, or maybe something else catches your eye, or something else happens that your goals can change. But whatever you do, just keep striving, have fun, and work hard at it.
Perfect. And that was great advice. Thank you, Stefan. And we want to give a big thank you to Stefan for being on with us this week. We hope you all enjoyed this episode and stay tuned for more.
This podcast is supported by the Department of Humanities and Communication at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University in Prescott, Arizona. Abigail Bradbury is our host and producer. Matthew Haslam is the department chair. And I'm Amelia Chesley, Assistant Professor of Professional Writing. The intro and outro music is Wanderer by Alex. Many thanks to the Prescott Campus Writing and Design Lab for hosting our transcripts. Find us where most podcasts are found, and please do reach out if you are a Prescott Campus alum. We'd love to feature you in a future episode.